Hi everybody, I'm Courtney, and I never know how to wave my hands at the beginning of these videos. I've been watching YouTubers and it's like, do you do no I can't count, the two hand? Or do you do the one hand? You know, there's so many options and I never know which one to choose. Am I a two-hander or a one-hander? Remains to be seen. I'm a nutritionist and I specialize in the areas of juice cleansing and plant-based nutrition and healing overeating. But today's video is going to be about how long you can expect your homemade juice to last and how to store it in a way that will ensure it stays fresh as long as possible. So, it is very okay to make your juice ahead of time. The vast majority, like 95% of my clients who do juice cleanses, they're working, or they are students, or they have a family, or all of the above, or some of the above, and they can't always drink juice straight out of the juicer, so they make the juice ahead of time. I do that a lot of the time on my cleanses as well, and it works very well if you know how to do it. So let's talk about how long juice will last and tips for that. So the general rule of thumb that I tell people for this is that most juice will last 24 hours from the time you make it. And that is just a good baseline. 24 hours, which is at most one overnight, juice will probably still be good. However, there is some variation. So juicers or methods that basically tear the juice, that kind of like pulverize it and just demolish it to make the juice, that juice won't last as long as juicers that press the juice. They basically press the produce in order to create the juice. So tearing will mean that the juice won't last as long as pressing. Again, the 24 hours is pretty much across the board, even if you've got a method that is one of the more aggressive ways to yield the juice. But some juicers that do more of a pressing kind of, use a pressing mechanism, and there's lots of brands, that's why I'm not getting specific, but those kinds of juicers sometimes can make juice that will last 2 days, 3 days, just by nature of the way that they keep the cellular structure intact when they create the juice. And so 24 hours is a good guideline, but what I would recommend is look up your particular juicer and how long it says the juice will last. And if you bought it secondhand and you don't know, look up the brand online and see if you can find out what that company says in terms of how long the juice will last. So that's the first thing. So let's talk about things, tips and tricks when you make juice at home for ensuring that it will taste good as long as it can and retain the nutrients for as long as it can. The first thing is store your juice in glass. Glass tends to keep juice fresher longer than, say, plastic or metal. And so if you're going to be storing your juice for later, I always recommend glass. A lot of people use mason jars, but you can use anything, and that'll help. Now, even though the juice keeps longer best in glass, obviously the challenge with that is that glass is not always the most practical thing to travel with. And again, for me, most of my clients are doing juice cleanses or they're incorporating juice in a way where they're not having it when they're at home. They're bringing it with them, maybe to put in a work fridge or something. And so I think there's nothing wrong with using plastic, like say plastic water bottles or metal water bottles or something that feels more durable and you're not so scared of it breaking. That's fine. It's just to be aware that it's not going to store as long as glass would. And sometimes what people do is they might make it ahead of time, store it in glass, and then transition it to plastic or a metal container when they have to go somewhere. And that is better because you don't want to be out and about, without your juice and skip it just because you're worried about the fact that it's in glass. So obviously be practical, but generally glass is the best bet. With that, the second tip is your juice obviously needs to be sealed. So you can't have open containers of juice in the fridge or open pitchers. It's got to be sealed. So you got to have something with a good tight lid on it. Also, the juice has to be refrigerated. So if possible, I would recommend not really ever removing it from the fridge. What some people do, because the juice is so cold if it's in the fridge, and if it's the winter and they're juicing, that can be a little bit, make you feel a bit like a polar bear. And so some people will take their juice out of the fridge and put it in room temperature for a period of time, you know, half hour or something like that, hour before they drink it, so it's not so cold. Which is okay. It's just you want to not let it sit too long because once it's in, you know, a warmer temperature, then obviously those processes will start speeding up. And the last tip for storing your juice is when you make it, regardless of what kind of container you're using, try to fill up the juice all the way to the very top before you seal it. Now, the reason for this is that if you fill it up to the very top, then there will be very little oxygen and air in the container. And basically, oxygen is what makes it go bad. So it oxidates. So the oxidation will increase if there is more oxygen in the juice. And so wherever possible, I recommend filling it up to the very top before you seal it, and that will help it last longer as well. So I hope that these tips have been helpful, and I hope that it inspires you to go out and make some juice. Or you might buy a juice from a juicing company, in which case you don't have to worry about any of these tips, and that's great too. So I'll see you guys soon, and as always, you can email me if you're interested in coaching for a juice cleanse. I coach cleanses between 5 days and 90 days in length. Yes, 90 days. I did a 60-day one once. So if you are interested in juice cleanse coaching, or maybe not a full juice cleanse, but you just want to get more juice into your diet, email me at my website. That's courtneypool.com. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye.